Welcome back to another episode of A Friend for the Long Haul. And I am back with Miss Claire Jones. Claire is the mom half of Sista Creatives Rising, but she and Amaranthia are doing so many things together and independently. We are now just having a good old yap session between the two of us, like I did with Amaranthia. So I'm going to do a quick ID for myself, Claire, if that's okay, and then I will pass it
Yes,
over to you.
sure.
I am Beth. I am a white woman sitting in the sun. I have brown curly hair, and my headphones are blending into my hair. I've got glasses on that are kind of big and purple, and I'm wearing a black t-shirt. I'm sitting in my bedroom with the camera strategically placed so you can't see the mess, and I'm against a gray wall. And Claire, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I am Claire Jones, co-founder of Sista Creatives Rising. I am sitting in on my couch in my living room, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am a Black older woman, 63 years old, and I'm wearing red glasses. I have a very short haircut, and you can see gray. My hair is gray, gray headphones, and a geometric type shawl with browns and grays and greens.
It's very
I'm
beautiful.
wearing, yeah, I'm wearing that and sign what pewter type e- uh earrings, and I have like some flower cushions behind me, and on the wall some Japanese art.
Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm much better.
Good.
Thank you.
Claire
Thank
and I
you.
met, when was it, Claire?
Few
A,
weeks now.
a few weeks now. We met and you were not feeling super great.
And I
And
didn't realize.
you didn't realize just how not well you felt. And we
No,
had a conversation that was very good for me, but we kind of talked about it. And we were like, were we both really depressing? But I felt much better after we talked.
me too.
So,
Me too. Actually, I
it,
felt better, but I didn't realize that I was getting sick or that I was sick.
yeah.
Even though I'm very in touch with my body and everything, but this thing was so subtle,
Mm,
And I
yeah.
ended up in the hospital and a couple of days, and then only after it was over, I was like, wow. A couple of weeks after I came out of the hospital, I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm back in my body. It was just a weird experience.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that you're feeling so much better. Amaranthia and I talked about it in our episode that we did, and
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
said that this time around it was really different for her with you being sick because so many people
Hmm.
were reaching out and offering help and rides and all sorts of things for you,
Yes.
which is really
Yes.
nice.
Yes. What was, although, it was a difficult situation, what I learned from it was like, hold on a minute, I have this community that really cares for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that the first time when I had cancer in 2022. I didn't have that.
Mm.
And I realized how much I had grown,
Oh,
how much my life had grown and evolved into this amazing space where in this situation where I have an online community that really cares for me and my daughter. And that
yeah.
was so affirming.
That's wonderful and so good for your soul and your spirit when you don't feel well.
Yes, yes, yes. As I was in the hospital, Amaranthi was telling me all these messages were coming in. We couldn't keep up with them. And she was telling me about it. So when I got home, I was able to see them, and I was able to answer the messages when I got back.
That's lovely.
So that
You all
was,
deserve that.
yeah, that was amazing.
Really glad. You have so much going on, but you've been kind of behind the scenes working on a Substack for a while, and I know that
Yes.
that is live now, and it's called Musings of a Black Disabled Elder.
Yes,
Would you like to tell the people a little bit about what you're offering there?
I'm going to be writing I think it's every 2 weeks. And it's basically, I had an Instagram way back in 2015 when when I first learned that I had potential for multiple myeloma. And it was a very shocking diagnosis and sudden. And I remember not being able to function, and so I started to take all these pictures and write all these positive messages on my Instagram, and I would post them. And my Instagram was called Clarity's Just So Hip. It's still there, but I don't post anything anymore. And so over time, I accumulated all these beautiful, positive, uplifting messages to spread love and light and to help people be motivated and inspired. And so the Muses of a Black Disabled Elder goes back to that. That's where it comes from. It took me a long time because now it's 2026 to get to here to really pull it all together. But I'd gone through so much with so many things happened, with Mina, our cat passing away, and my health and Amaranthia's health. All these things were going on. So it really is about taking Clarity's Just So Hit and bringing it in over to Substack, which is such an awesome space. And now expanding on those little pieces that I would put up at Clarity's Just So Hit, expanding on those little pieces to spread um, uplifting messages or my musings that I have about life. My first one was really basically an introduction. My second one was talking about the resources about what we are going through, resisting in your capacity.
Oh,
So that's the next one that I'm going to be working on. And so it's things, little pieces like that, just messages that I come up inside, and then I sit down and write on them, and then I'll post them.
that one sounds really super interesting to me because I think we
Yeah.
all wish we could do a lot more than we have the capacity for. And I think I know I personally give myself a lot of shame for not being able to keep up with what I would like to keep up with and not being able to be as active as I would um,
Yes.
if I had the spoons, when I really would like to reframe it for myself and look at where I can fit into resistance behind the scenes, but still use the skills that I have the capacity to use to really push things
Yes.
forward because we don't all have to be
Mm-hmm.
right there at the forefront. That's not actually necessarily my skill set,
Yeah, exactly.
and I want to bring my
Exactly.
best. So I'd
Exactly.
love to read what you end up saying about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Resisting in our capacity is basically like um what you can do within your capacity, because all of us, we lead different lives. There's so much going on in the world right now, and you want to be able to help, you want to be able to contribute in some way, but you're like, man, I can't do what that person is doing.
Yeah.
I can't do that. That's too much for me. So what can you do in your capacity? It might be you're a person who might want to get out there and demonstrate, or you might be a person who um want to write letters, or you might be a person who just uh you like to listen and talk among family and friends, to get out, to get your feelings out or get your ideas out. Whatever capacity you have to kind of add to the drip, 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 drip,
Yeah. I think you know how I feel
do
about
what you
ripples.
can. Yes. Oh, I love the concept of ripples.
I do too. I think
Yeah,
we talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
that last time, but I really do think everything that we do with intention, no matter how big or small, feeds into the whole collective.
Yes, exactly. And that ripple, but that ripple is not done even though you don't see it anymore,
Thank you for
right?
saying that. Right.
That the effect of that stone is still in there till it peters out. You can't see it with your human eyes, but that energy is going to peter out whether you see it or not. And so that's what it is, resisting your capacity. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
You're putting in something towards the big moments that we are living in right now. You know, it doesn't always have to be obvious.
No, and I think those ripples also again feed our spirit. And then
Hmm.
that makes you feel more part of the whole, and that makes you just feel more tied into your community, and it feeds everything.
Yes, exactly. It really does.
Do you want to explain the concept of clarity and what
Oh,
all that
yes,
stands
yes,
for? Because I love this.
yes. Well, first thing I want to say that my mission is to help marginalized women activate their light in the middle of chaos by recognizing the causes and effects in their lives.
Mm, that's beautiful.
Awareness, presence, acceptance, and gratitude is the way how I kind of pull it together because it's a 5-step system that I created from way back then, and I kind of pulled it together. And how it came together was that when they told me that I had this potential for myeloma, man, it felt like an earthquake went through it's like my body like had this internal earthquake that went on and on and on and on. I remember when the doctor told me of the diagnosis, I was sitting in the doctor's office and she told me, and my daughter, I can't remember, Amaranthe maybe was 15 at that time. She didn't tell Amaranth, asked me to let my daughter go out of the room.
Oh no, Claire.
And I didn't know what she was gonna tell me, but she didn't ask Amaranthia to leave. So Amaranthia was in there, and then she told me about this potential for cancer in my daughter there. And I remember my spirit, I felt like I
Yes.
suddenly was looking down on my body sitting on the table. And from that moment, it was like that for days and days and days. And I remember leaving and coming home, and I couldn't, you know, realign myself for so long. And then what I started to do was walk and walk and walk in my neighborhood in circles, and just look at the sky. I was having this very spiritual experience, right?
Right.
I was looking at the sky and the clouds and how expansive it was. And I felt like, my God, I felt like so part of everything, like this was in me and I was a part of it. And it was I was having this deep spiritual experience, and it was this moment of clarity, right? And at the time, I didn't realize I was going to pull this thing together, but I had this moment of clarity. And then I had a moment of awareness and this a moment of presence. But these different stages came at different times, right? Okay. Like, um, Louise Hay, she always, in one of her, pieces, she says, I hope I get it right. She says that you don't always have to like what you have to accept, but it's important to accept the reality, something like that,
Man, that's
right?
hard
Something like
though.
that. And so I had to accept that reality, which was so hard. And then I started into gratitude. So clarity, awareness, presence, acceptance, and gratitude. Clarity, and then clarity's just so hit. And I came home and I from one of my walks, and I just made this Instagram, clarity's just so hit, because I felt really hit to life at that moment.
Yeah.
that's when I started to put the pieces together for 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 the Instagram. And Clarity's just so hit. I actually wrote it out. Because I wanna make sure that I get it right. And I wrote it out. And it is Clarity's just so hit is it says clarity. One has to awaken and become clear to get the most out of life. Once clarity is established, awareness arises. This is on Sista Creatives Rising website, by the way. And then when one becomes aware of their chaos, that makes room for presence. And then in presence, being present of mind then allows you to solidify your rooting in the now, resulting in acceptance of oneself and the flow of one's life force. And then acceptance and gratitude. When one allows life to flow, you accept and become grateful for the opportunity to change your mindset and face your chaos head on. Applying this consistent practice allows one to unravel the many issues that continue to suppress and repress one's life. So then life will do what life will do, but when you bring clarity, awareness, presence, acceptance, and gratitude to the problematic areas of your life, you realize that everything is manageable because you operate from a peaceful core, recognizing that all of the above results in a feeling of freedom, no matter what life throws at you, allowing you to get ahead of life before life gets ahead of you, which is my action statement. Get ahead of life before life gets
Hmm.
ahead of you. And then clarity's just so hit. Then that's the whole clarity's just so hit thing.
You can't see.
System.
I don't think you can. Can you see? I don't know if you can see. I've got
Uh,
goosebumps.
oh, okay, right.
I got goosebumps. I
Yeah.
have I have a pin that I got from someone I work with, and she's in charge of the southern region of our um, sort of an offshoot of our business that I it's a nonprofit I work for. But her slogan, and I have it on this pin, is make it happen for us before it happens to us.
Yes. Pretty much
And
that's it.
that's what that reminded me of.
Yes. Yes. Because so clarity's just so hit. Clarity, awareness, presence, acceptance, and gratitude, and my action statement get ahead of life before life gets ahead of you. As human beings, we have the tendency to put off things like uh and only address situations when they come up.
Mm,
You only address situations when they come up. So you don't wait for it, but when something like you get ill or a family member gets ill or something happens to one of your kids or to one of your pets, you then at that moment have to rush around and like, oh, and you
yeah.
feel so out of whack because you didn't consistently fill up your being with light on a daily, consistent basis. And so, what get ahead of life before life gets ahead of you means is like fill up your life with light daily from the moment you open your eyes. Don't wait till something happens.
Mm,
So, when that thing happens, whatever it is, because in life, there's always going to be suffering, there's always going to be upsetments. Okay? I feel that that it's good to always like put in the work on a daily basis, however you feel that you need to do it. But find a place of centeredness and alignment and balance so that when that moment comes, and it will throw you off when that moment comes, whatever it is, it will throw you off. But because you've been doing the work and you've been getting ahead of life before life gets ahead of you, at some point, if it's 5 minutes later, if it's 10 minutes later, if it's an hour later, you're going to be like, oh, wait a minute, and you're going to bring yourself back to center.
so hard.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't have to feel guilty or upset that you didn't catch it at the moment. That's not how life works, you know.
Mm.
We have these uh constantly we have these thoughts and stuff running through our head that throws us off, even if you do the work on a daily
Yes.
basis.
Yes.
So if you take a bit to realign yourself, that's okay too, as long as you realign yourself. That's important for people to understand.
Yeah.
And it's something that happens to me too, even though I do this work on a daily, consistent basis, you know, and it's like there's another thought leader that I listen to. His name is Alan Watts, and he has inner wars.
Oh
And
gosh.
how we have these inner wars with ourselves, like fighting against presence basically. It's like you you want to do something, but so many things distract you or whatever, and you're fighting within yourself to do all of them maybe, or you're fighting with yourself to figure out, oh, should I do this or did I do that right? Or and when he's talking about these inner wars, it's like bringing yourself to center and saying, okay, this I don't have to feel all this guilt and all this um, misalignment or this anxiety because I didn't focus on the thing that I want to do. Just focus on one thing. And so I find that sometimes for me on a daily basis, that would happen to me and I got to talk to myself and say, okay, Cheryl, this is what you're doing now, presence. This is what you're doing now. Okay, I'm filling up this water jug. Yes, I know I need to go mop the floor or I need to go make my breakfast, but I will get to that.
Hmm.
Breathe, breathe. One, two, three.
What you did with me right before we started,
Yes.
and it does
Bring your
help so much. I get
that.
so caught up in the whirl of everything, and there's a lot to that. One of the things absolutely that you said is it's always going to knock you off, and the something will always happen. The only constant is change. That is it. That is the only thing we can really rely on. We know things are going to change. Um, I find it so hard because of so many different conflicting things that have happened to me through life, through conditioning from family, through stories that my brain has made up as coping mechanisms because of trauma, because of I've got 4 kids and
Mm,
everybody's got a disability or something's going on. And I was very much raised to be capable, not complain, and serve everyone else but me. Completely, I don't have needs. I've got to just give and give and give and give for survival. And
mm-hmm,
unlearning that while sick with a nervous system that has been in fight or flight
mm-hmm,
probably my whole life, but especially since the beginning of the pandemic,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I'm not even always capable of thinking that I need to breathe. Like my therapist reminds me to breathe.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I have to remind myself throughout the day, every night before I go to bed, I do a breathing technique. And sometimes I go to sleep and I don't complete it, but that's okay. I just go to sleep breathing, consciously breathing and just, you know, lying there. And sometimes you the breathing brings you back to center each time because it's like that's the one thing that if you don't do, you're gonna die.
Right.
You can even do it like sometimes if you tell yourself, well, when I meet this person outside, when I go outside, when I go to the doctor or whoever I meet, I'm going to make sure that I do my breathing and make sure that I separate. No, it doesn't work like that because as soon as you go out or you connect with other people, your energy melds with their energy
Yes,
immediately. Our energies,
so many of it. Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
I do.
And even though you do this work, you will be thrown off because you could run into someone and they have really chaotic energy, and you can feel it coming into you, and you get caught up in that, and then because you've done the work, because you have gotten ahead of life before life gets ahead of you, suddenly you snap back in and you go like, oh, wait a minute. And you could do that breathing without, while you're talking to that person, without them even knowing that you're doing it, to give you that space. It just takes a second or less than a second. Breathe in really quickly and separate yourself from that.
And that's the presence, isn't it?
Yes,
Being
yes.
able
And
to
it's,
recognize that you need.
yeah, being able to realize that you need to realign yourself because you've been knocked off. You've you've been knocked helter skelter by this very chaotic energy that you didn't even know that was gonna come in to your space. For me, I'm so very sensitive
Yes, ma'am. Same.
because I um because of, and I didn't know this, but until I started to do the work for, many years ago, but I really came into it um with when I had the cancer.
Hmm.
And because I had to spend so much time not being able to walk and had to observe life from a different perspective
Yes,
as a person
everything.
who was, yes, because now I was physically disabled. Before I was invisibly disabled and people can see my disability. And
Hmm.
it was hard to really, for people to understand who I was. And it's still hard for people to understand that. But um, with that physical disability, I had to lay there and I couldn't move. And so I had to observe life from a different perspective.
Yes,
And
it's
and
force.
yeah, I was forced to observe life from a different perspective. And so I came into myself at that time and started to really think about how I had gotten there and how I got into that point where I couldn't walk because of this cancer on my spine. And I was thinking about all these things, about all these thoughts would run through my head. And I had to like say, get the hell out of here. You're no longer welcome here. Get the hell out.
Hmm.
And I had to clear all that out so that I had clear energy going through my body. But it took a while. And then when that happened, I was able to see things clearly and started to connect the dots. And I realized that the trauma that I had experienced wasn't coming from childhood domestic violence, wasn't just me alone. It was cumulative,
Yes.
and I had generations that had happened. And I had to figure out that, okay, so you know all this, so how are you going to go forward and parcel of this trauma that I had communicated in my life? Because I learned over time that people like me who have come through so much trauma, that it can it never ever goes away from you, and it shows up in your life in different way, in different illnesses, or you know having problems with relationships,
Yeah.
you know not being able to connect to other people, things like that. It shows up in different ways. And so basically I had to come to terms with, you know, how do I go forward from there? How do I live my life from there? And so I basically had to use clarity, awareness, presence, acceptance, and gratitude to ground my life and in this new way of being, and go forward from there.
I have so many things and questions because I just love you. And it's how did you make space for the grief of it
Hmm.
but not stay in it?
Well, how I made space for the grief. Well, first thing that's very, very important for me, I have I have been a practicing Buddhist for over 30 something years. I practice Buddhism not as a religion, but as a life philosophy, as a way to help me to function in this life.
Yes.
It's like, for me, it's like water, it's like air, it's my life. I was able to use my practice as the fulcrum, metaphorical, concrete onto my life, that I can pretty much center myself. And then I, in Buddhism, in this practice of Buddhism, you don't run from things. You face them head on, no matter how hard it is. You face it head on, you go through it, and you accept, you kind of come to terms with it, and you accept everything that comes at you. Then you see like all the negative stuff that's coming, that you're like, oh, that's good. This is life talking to me. This is good. This is good. Because the more you come at me, the more I have to fight against you, and the stronger that I'm going to be.
And the more I get to
So,
learn, I guess. I
and
like
the
to
more I
think of
get,
that too.
yeah, the more I get to learn, the more I get to grow. Basically, that's how I approached grief, the grief of it. And it took a while to get through that, but constantly chanting on my bed, I constantly had my beads and even though I didn't have my altar with me, this practice goes with me wherever I go. It's within me. And so I just would chant all the time. And whenever I would feel like really upset or overwhelmed by what was happening or anxious, I would chant, and I would use clarity, awareness, presence, acceptance, and gratitude in this wash, rinse, repeat cycle to get me through whatever the crisis was. And sometimes when I was in the hospital, all of a sudden they'd come and tell me, oh, I coughed up blood one time. And I was like, oh my God, what does this mean? The doctor comes in and she tells me, oh, you're going to have to go get a bronchoscopy. And I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Okay, what the hell is this now? Now I gotta go for another operation, and I'm freaking out inside,
Yeah.
but I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do. So now I gotta go for this operation. And it was so scary, but I chanted clarity, awareness, presence, acceptance, and gratitude, go through my wash, rinse, repeat cycle thing, and just breathe. And I would come out on the other side each time. So I do the same thing with grief. I just go through it. If it comes, I go through it. I don't run from it, because if in life, when things happen to you and you put them off, and all of us do this whole thing where we put off stuff. But know, if you put it off, it's going to come to you in a different way at an inconvenient time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always at the worst time.
At the worst time. And so it's better when things happen to really deal with them, but it's not always, you're human. You're not perfect.
Yeah.
None of us are perfect. You're not always going to be able to do it to immediately fix things, but you just gotta know that if you put it off, it's gonna come up again.
Yeah. There's a,
So,
I was raised very Southern Baptist, very, very Southern Baptist. And it was also kind of self-inflicted because I I made friends at church. So I spent a lot of my childhood very, very,
mhm,
very tenaciously Southern Baptist. And then something happened when I was 17 that changed everything. And it was a horrible thing. And I remembered getting very angry, thinking, but I've been so good. I've been so devoted and so diligent, and feeling like, why was this allowed to happen to me? when I've done everything that I was supposed to do, and I somehow came across a book called Buddhism Without Beliefs, and I can't remember the author of this book, but I remember reading it and just thinking, huh, that's different. And I wonder if I could think of Jesus as just a person who was well intentioned and didn't need to have reasons to try to be good,
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to serve. And then taking from Buddhism Without Beliefs, you can't run from suffering.
Mm-mm.
If you're going to be a human and have the full human experience, you are going to experience suffering.
It's a part of life.
And that doesn't mean that I have always faced it well,
Yeah.
but I've had at least that in the back of my mind to know that
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
growing up and actually having more of those adult experiences and then trying to reconcile the things that happened to me too as a child. It's very easy to get in loops of thinking I did something wrong. I caused that. I should have this. I should have that. But it is just all part of living. And I'm a very interesting, funny person because of the
Yes,
bad
you
things
are.
that have happened. Thank you. Um, but where I am now, and I love hearing you talk about this because I don't think I ever considered having like a personal manifesto and a personal mission or action statement
Mm-hmm.
that takes into consideration who I am at this phase, what I know I'm capable of, and what I need for myself to then be the person I want to be. And I just love the idea of you respecting yourself enough and life enough and wanting to be part of it as the best Claire to sit down and think, what do I need to be my best me and approach things from the most well intentioned place I can. And I actually wrote down a peaceful core when you said it,
Mm-hmm.
because that just
Mm-hmm.
sounds
Mm.
like a
Yes.
dream. That sounds like a dream.
Yes. And what and I am going to write a piece about this probably after resisting your capacity. I'm going to write a piece about this, but cancer was a curse and a blessing for me,
I know what you mean.
because it was a curse in the sense, oh my God, this thing is awful. How could this have happened to me? Like you're thinking, oh man, I tried to do everything that I could to live a good life, blah, 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 blah. But I also know that there were times when I messed up really big. So
Yeah.
maybe this is why this is happening to me, blah, 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 blah. And all that going through my head. But the blessing came was because I, I realized that I needed to care for myself
Mm, yeah.
more. I needed to love myself more. I needed to um, accept that, you know, yes, I didn't live a perfect life, and there were things in life that I did that were not so pretty or whatever.
Aligned.
Yeah, but I realized in that moment that I was living under my whole thing is like illusion, delusion, and cluelessness before before cancer. And after cancer, I came into a place where, wow, I feel this amazing sense of joy and happiness and self-love. It's like in our practice of Buddhism, there's the lotus flower, and the lotus flower is represents our practice because it is rooted in mud, but it is never defiled. It stays beautiful and untouched by the mud around it. And what I did in when I had the cancer, I visualized myself as the lotus flower. And the cancer and all the stuff that was going on around me wasn't touching me at all.
It's the mud.
It's the mud. And to this day, that's how I stay in that visualization.
You did it again.
Sorry.
You did it. No, it's
I'm
beautiful.
sorry.
You're giving me
Okay, okay.
oxytocin. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I just kind of am the lotus flower. And there's mud and all this stuff that's around me, but I try not to let it get on my petals. When I visualize it, I'm lily white, and in the center of this lotus flower is gold, and that's the sun, at my center. And I try not to let anything touch me that's gonna defile that. And when it does, I immediately go to work on expunging it. And so it's like, um, it's a very disciplined way of being, but I find that if you do that, then when all that craziness and all that mud and stuff splashing around out there, like what's going on in society today with what's going on in the world, you have to find a way to be constantly aware of what is going on, but not let it touch you, not let it infiltrate. So, for example, like what's going on in the world of politics today, you have to be conscious of what's going on, what's happening, because it's going to affect you. But what are you doing on a day-to-day basis save you,
Yes.
to save you, to make sure that that's not coming into you and affecting you? Do you pull away? Do you have a strategy that when you feel overwhelmed that you pull away and you go to a place where you can feel calm and peaceful, or do you constantly go deeper and deeper and deeper and feel overwhelmed? And sometimes that happens. There might be a story that
Yeah.
comes out, and I'm like, oh man, that happened. Oh my God. And I find myself going it, and then I go like, oops,
Yeah, but
I
that's really
gotta,
interesting because our brains are so used to our patterns and will keep us doing things like staying in a loop like that because it's
yes,
familiar. And even
yes,
though it's bad for us, it feels safe because it's what
yes,
it's used to. And
yes.
it's such hard work to get yourself out of those loops. And I also was thinking about when you said it was both a curse and a blessing. It's the same for me with long COVID. And it can
Mm-hmm,
sometimes be very triggering. And I've got upset before in the past when people say, I have had good things come because of how I had to react to this illness and this disability and this change to my life. And it can be, you'll have people saying, that's toxic positivity. You're looking for something to make yourself feel better. But I really think it's about the different phases of grief. And we can only see certain things about life once we've made it through certain phases of the grief.
mm-hmm.
And no one's going
Exactly.
to be at the same phase.
No,
So just because I can see certain things about this that have changed my life for the better, I don't want to have it. I wish it had
no,
never happened,
yes,
but I don't know that I would have learned what I've learned that's enhanced my life experience if I hadn't experienced it.
exactly.
And how do I know it wouldn't have taken something worse?
Mm-hmm,
Because like you said, it always comes back and it's always at the worst time. And it's probably going to hit you harder because you didn't
yes,
get it when you were
yes,
supposed to get it the first time.
yes, exactly,
Can I ask you two
exactly.
more really big questions about
Sure,
this?
sure.
You grew up
Mm-hmm,
with a lot of trauma. I did too.
mm-hmm,
And I am only just now getting the full picture because my brain is letting it come through and I'm able to have conversations with my siblings. about things that we weren't able to talk about in the past because of all of
Mm,
our own collective
mhm.
experiences with the trauma. When you got cancer and you recognized you needed to love yourself better, did you even recognize that you could love yourself or that you would be able to love yourself because of what you were taught from the trauma up to that point? Or was that not a question?
It wasn't really a question, it just was.
Mm,
I it just was. I like to say that although I would say cancer was a blessing and a curse, I like to say it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Even though, and that's very hard for some people to hear or to accept, but it's true because it made me see the truth about myself. It made me understand that I was worthy, that I was worthy of love. And it wasn't something that it just happened. I can't sit here and say that there was something that it was this development that happened. It just was. I suddenly came into it, but it was kind of gentle, and I just started to feel good about myself. And I had this, okay, when I had the cancer and I was on that bed and I had to wear this brace that made me that I couldn't look left, right, left, right. I could only look up, down, and stare straight ahead. And basically that's a metaphor for what my life was. Look straight ahead, up or down, you know, stay focused.
mhm.
And I kind of use that as the metaphor for my life going forward. And basically, um, it it just centered me into this amazing feeling of self-love and happiness and joy, and it got better and better and stronger, that even the nurses and doctors would be like, how are you doing this? They would look at my chart and they'd be like, oh my God, this is this is a train wreck, basically, my chart, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But they would come and find me way ahead, way ahead from where they had left me before, with learning to walk again, or learning to I had to learn how to open cabinets, how to close cabinets, how to
yeah.
open jars, how to close.
You
Everything
were a
had to,
baby.
yeah, like a baby. So basically, that was it. And I just had to. I remember, um, I was in rehab, and this nurse, I was going through the steps. They would give me all these exercises. They had me get wheel the wheelchair up to a table and just stand up, holding on to the table.
Yeah.
And Beth, suddenly I felt my body from head to
And
everything started to align. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, oh my,
transform.
yeah, oh my God, what was that? And I told the nurse net to me, the only way I could describe it was like, when you have those transformer toys,
Yes.
that was how it felt. Like I
Mhm.
had this transformer experience through my body, and everything just started to line up, and I could feel everything like clicking into place. And after that, I started to get better. And I don't know what that was, but it just was this thing from head to
Yeah.
toe, boom, 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 and it came right through me. And it's like moments like that really really brings you into center and makes you think like, wow, there has to be something
Yeah.
much deeper
Mhm.
and more powerful. And I think only an experience like that can really bring you into yourself, because you have to focus. If you want to get better, you have to
Yeah.
bring all of you, physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, physiological. You have to bring all
Hmm.
of you to that, to getting better.
And it's so hard when you have a life of feeling unworthy or like you don't inherently have value, like you're not enough, like you're not supposed to be perceived or take up that space. It's so hard to even get into the process of like, I deserve to get better. I
Yeah,
deserve to
exactly.
feel joy despite
Yes. I am
these things
worthy. I'm
happening.
worthy.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
worthy of joy. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of happiness. I,
And there still can be joy. It just might look different. And there's still grief in that, but it doesn't
uh,
mean it never happens.
yes. It's just amazing because I don't know where all that came from. It
No,
just was. And it just is.
you just had, it's like at the end of The Wizard of Oz when Glinda tells Dorothy that she had the power all along. You had all
Thank
that
you.
in you. You just
Yes.
had to have
Thank you.
access to it.
Yeah. It's like I discovered way before cancer. Like when I left left Barbados, and I wanted to run away from all the ugliness that I thought my life was. I was running away. Things are going to get better. I'm going to go overseas. I'm going to start a new life. I'm going to meet new people. This is going to be behind me, but it wasn't behind me.
It
It
just
just,
goes with
it
you.
just, it goes with me. Thank you. The karma follows you wherever you go, or wherever you are, there you are.
Yes,
Right?
it's true. It's true. And you know what you made me think of? I'm trying so hard now that I have accepted that I have a brain injury, that I have accepted that COVID neuroinflammation damaged my brainstem, that my
Hmm.
brain has changed.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean I'm no longer smart. For a long time, I was saying I used to be smart. I give myself such a hard time. I still get very embarrassed and in loops of shame and being embarrassed because I can't do everything that I used to do. But I learned I was doing way too much. Not for me. I was not doing most of what I was doing for me anyway. I was pushing to seem good and smart. And also, I don't know if I told you this or if you saw, but like 3 weeks ago, I found out I'm autistic.
No, I
I'm
didn't know
autistic.
that.
I'm a little
Oh, okay.
autistic sweet baby. I didn't
Oh,
know. I had no
okay.
idea. I knew I did a questionnaire. I can't remember which one it is. I'll put it in the notes, but it's a autistic masking questionnaire. And I've been masking so hard that my score was I was masking at like 97.7% of how other autistic people mask.
Jeez.
And if you think about the cognitive load of that level of trying to like run normalperson.exe for 49 years, no wonder my brain has been tired. Then you put a brain injury on top of it and chronic illness and 4 kids and this world. It's so hard for me to say things like, I really want to do this, but I can't today because I'm not going to be able to do right by anybody and it's going to make me sicker for days. But when you were talking about it takes so much discipline to stay grounded and focused and present, I was thinking about the cognitive load of that, but the return on the investment of the load. I'm using all my cognitive power to manage other people's experience of me so that I seem like I don't need their help because I wasn't allowed that for so long. And then getting sick made it worse because what if I place undue strain on my kids or my husband or someone else, but they're there for me and they don't make me feel that way? What better way to use that cognitive power than to make sure that I'm fueling myself and I'm resting and I'm admitting when I need help and trying to stay clear and acknowledge what's going on and practice gratitude because that comes back. That's more ripples for me. And it's not selfish, it's putting my oxygen mask on and becoming better for them. And I hadn't thought about it in terms of like spoony return on investment to my own spoons. And I've just been spending so much time
Mhm. Mhm.
depleting it and not putting anything back where I could be trying to really pay attention to when I get in those loops and thinking, okay, stop and just take a freaking breath because I'm oxygen deficient anyway. I need that. I need it. But I just want to thank you because that's sometimes I get really down on myself because I think that sounds so simple. I should
Mhm.
have known that. I should have recognized that a long time ago. But you
But
can't.
girlfriend, you you can only get where you are when you're ready to get where you are.
And that's hard too, because I want to be done with a lot of this shit, Claire.
Nothing, right? Nothing happens on it does, you know,
It's not my timeline.
stuff. Yeah, stuff. It gets there when it gets there when you're ready for it.
Mm,
And I've been learning a lot about timelines too. I've been learning that timelines can switch.
yeah.
It's very fascinating and it's very confusing too.
Yes.
It's just amazing when these things happen to you, these harrowing situations happen. You know, it is it's very hard to deal with, but if you can just stay in the place of acceptance, you know.
Shit about that.
Hmm.
And then I'll stop plaguing you like you're my personal therapist. Um,
Oh no.
love your brain. I genuinely do. And that's why I'm so excited about your musings. Um, I had in my head for the longest time that meant acceptance meant that it would negate the experience. That if I accept what happened, it makes the suffering of it not count anymore or not real. And I also equated it with forgiveness that I'm not ready for. So I have
Hmm.
completely been in this space of not being capable of accepting things because I need to hold on to, I need a witness. I need a witness for these things because if I don't have a witness, I feel like none of it's real.
Hmm.
But I've witnessed it.
Yeah.
I don't need the validation of someone else to witness it, to feel it in my bones.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's not real. It just means I can't change it, I guess. Is that the thing?
Oh, well, say it again.
Is acceptance just coming to a place where I know I can't change the things? I can't go back. I can't make different decisions. I can't keep from getting exposed to COVID. I can't help that my mom needed so
Hmm.
much help she didn't get and was just making some really shitty decisions from fear. I can't change that. Is that what acceptance is in that moment? Looking at those things and thinking, that happened. Now what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. Like I know. Like. like I said before, like what Louise Hay said is like, you don't really have to like it, but I guess it's important to deal with the reality of it.
Yeah, and I guess the grief is the hope that something's going to change, but the root's going to stay the same.
Hmm.
And maybe that's just being able to say,
This morning I was listening to piece on Buddhism. I listen to them every day, these short pieces. And they were talking about this story. There was this woman in Buddha's times, and her child died. And she kept walking around with the child, the dead body of the child. She could not accept that the child had died. So she kept walking around it, and people were like, what is going, something she really needs to accept this. And finally she came upon the Buddha, and he didn't tell her one way or the other, oh, you have to accept this or whatever. He just said to her something about I want you to go to these different places and these different people, and I want you to get a mustard seed from each one of these people for one of those, because for one of these people from the people that haven't died or something like that. And she went, and she couldn't get a mustard seed from anybody because they had all experienced death.
oh, okay.
They had
Yeah.
all, so she went
Try to
back to
find
the
one
Buddha.
person who hadn't.
Yeah. And in that moment, she came into the realization, oh, I see what you're trying to teach me. Everyone suffers. I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone in this. She was carrying this child like she was alone. She was the only one that had this experience. And then she realized that, all these other people were having these same experience of death. And that was the lesson. And I listened to, how many times I listened? I kept going back and listening to that over and over and over and over because it was such a deep lesson, of acceptance. And so,
Yeah,
does that make sense to you, what I
it
just
does.
said?
No, it absolutely does. And that's why I'm so grateful for all of our community
Hmm.
because it really did just start from people seeking other people who had the same experience, trying to
Yeah.
make
And
sure you weren't the only one.
yeah. And even now in the middle of it, we are so in our COVID community, so small, and the world has moved on, but we keep going because we know that what we are doing is the right thing for our lives. Into our lives any further,
And I don't want to harm anyone else with it.
and I don't want to harm anyone else with it. So, like for me, I had to come to terms with the fact that I'm gonna be homebound because I'm these uh medications that I take, they cause me to have my white blood cells to go down, and I can get sick at a drop of a hat. So I don't expose myself to situations. I, I go to the doctor, I go to my appointments, but I don't go outside of that. And my life is pretty much at home. And people might say to you, oh man, if I don't talk about it a lot because people look at you with pity.
Yes.
And Amaratia talked about this in her conversation with you too. But you don't need to pity me because I have chosen this lifestyle because it's the right lifestyle for me and what I need to do to be better and to live a
Yeah.
healthy whole life within the capacity that I have.
You get to have a life. Like, I don't know how many times I can get exposed to COVID and continue to live.
Yes.
because of the state of
Thank
my
you.
body. I'd much rather have this seemingly small to the outside world, but incredibly
Yes.
rich,
Incredibly rich and incredibly fulfilling. And
accepting,
um,
kind, and again,
yes,
people I learn from, which is my favorite.
exactly. Exactly. It's a change of mindset. And I guess that's what cancer did for me. Coming
Yeah.
back to that, it was a change of mindset into like from being il- um, filled with illusion, cluelessness, and delusion into a place where I became came into clarity, awareness, presence, acceptance, and gratitude. And fully embracing that into my life and being fully aligned.
It's just so hip.
It's just so hip. Clarity's just so hip.
It is. Thank you so
There you
much for
go.
all of that. I love talking to you and I love talking to Amaranthia. You
Yeah, I
know,
like having.
I told her I feel like your auntie or something. I can see she's lit up.
Yes,
And I know she's
she's
got stuff going on health-wise and things, but I can see there's an electricity.
yes, she's the baby lotus flower.
Baby lotus flower she is. She's just you've done a real good job there.
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that. When she was born, I was like, I want to have a honest, truthful, sincere life with this energy that has come into my life. I made mistakes with her. Yeah, I did, but I would always there were times when I would go to her and I say, "I'm so sorry. I messed up."
That's the difference, though.
Mhm.
I never heard
Mhm.
that.
Yes.
Never heard
Me,
that.
of course not.
No,
To
no, no,
this day,
no, no.
today I remember before we go, I remember when I got to confront my dad and I said to him, "You caused me. You hurt me so deeply. What you did affected me so deeply, and you really um are the reason that I have all these issues in my life, and I need you to say sorry for what you did." And he was like, "I don't need to say sorry to you. You're the one that did everything to me." And I was like, he never he I don't know why I was thinking that he was gonna be,
It was your hope.
understand.
Yeah.
It was my hope, but I had to get closure from that for myself. And I remember that was the last conversation I had with him ever. I realized I had to find closure for myself.
Yeah.
Because guess what? The people that hurt us and stuff, don't expect them to give you closure. If you expect that and you go on in your life thinking that those people that bring you pain and suffering are going to give you closure, that's a lost cause. You have to find closure for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's because of that that I think when I was on that cancer bed, that I think that's one of the things that helped me. I had to come to terms
Yes. Yeah.
with what was going on.
Yeah.
And because I was able to come to terms with him not acknowledging what he did, I was able to come to terms with
Yeah.
the cancer.
Yeah. And I want to say I'm sorry that those things happened and they shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have. But I appreciate you and I appreciate you sharing all of that and I appreciate the lessons that you share.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes,
I really
yes,
do.
yes.
Can I ask you the
Thank
three
you.
questions at the end real quick before we go?
Sure.
All right. My first question this time around is what do you wish more people understood about l- living a COVID conscious lifestyle?
First thing that can masking really works. Wearing good mask really, really works. You know, I can tell you, I've gone through so much. I've been in and out of hospitals, in operating rooms, in, situations where I could have come out and I could have been really sick. And I just masked the whole time with a really good mask. And up to this point, I have not had COVID, not on wood. Up to this
Bless
point, I can just say that it really works. And I wish everybody would know that.
you. Me too. Me too. I really do. Thank you for that. Um, what's been your favorite part about our community? Has there been anything in particular that stood out for you?
I like how you can just go on there and you can talk about all these stuff, all the things that, like, if something is affecting you, like a health issue or something, you can ask a question and there's somebody out there that will come back and tell you, oh, they'll send you information. They're
Yeah,
so well
so
versed
so
and
generous.
generous.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just nice to hear you're not making it up. Yeah, I had the same thing. It was wild,
Yeah.
but you're not
Yeah.
making it up.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, and you're not alone.
Thank you so much for your time today. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you. No, you always make sense. You gave me goosebumps like 4 times. So much oxytocin for me. Um, Musings of a Black Disabled Elder, where can we find it? It's on Substack.
Sista Creatives Rising, and it'll be,
Okay,
it's a part of that.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait to hear it.
Me too.
Thank you for tuning in to A Friend for the Long Haul. I want to remind listeners that while our conversations may touch on medical topics, I'm not a medical professional and neither are most of our guests. The content provided here is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Any advice or information shared should not be considered a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider regarding any medical concerns or conditions. Additionally, I'm committed to transparency in advertising. Any advertisements or sponsored content featured in these episodes will be clearly disclosed as such. Lastly, I acknowledge that the recording of this podcast takes place on the traditional lands of the Arapaho, the Cheyenne, the Sioux, and the Ute peoples. Again, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more episodes of A Friend for the Long Haul.